have to say this today as I feel it in my heart. We don't have the luxury nor the time anymore to not be teaching psychic self-defense, to not be talking about, yes, topics that are loaded, such as demonic interference or entity attachments, consciousness implants, possessions. We can't avoid talking about these issues anymore. The way the world currently is unfolding, we are seeing on a broad scale proof of what's happening when we avoid talking about things that are there nevertheless. Whether we talk about them or we avoid them, these things are there. I posted last week in the membership, in my Sacred Alchemist membership, a class on demystifying demonic interference and how to clear it. And I posted openly, publicly on my website, a blog sharing a little bit of my journey, my initiation as it has been as an energy worker through the years, how I came to at all be versed in these topics. Because if I have to be honest, my journey started very much like, most people's does. We go into spirituality because we are seeking comfort, and there is nothing wrong with that, because most of us, we do come from very traumatized spaces, and we are seeking for comfort. We're seeking to understand our experiences, and we find spirit because really through pain we are initiated into looking for God within. And so we seek to regulate, to heal, to comfort. But once you are out of these stages, what happens is a different kind of initiation. And that is where you are called to have the dark arts training, really, where suddenly it doesn't matter how high of a vibration you have, you realize it doesn't repel the black magicians, it doesn't repel the psychic attacks and the destiny swapping attempts and the shady kinds of individuals that actually are attracted by your high vibration and they want to have it. If you have something good, it's actually illogical to think that that good thing is repelling the bad things. Actually, no. If you have something good, everybody wants to have it. So I started this series of classes in my membership called Antagonizing Forces. And already back then, and this past week with my blog about my initiation into learning to understand demonic interference, I actually received quite a lot of pushback. I'm not trying to convince anybody about anything, but I kind of see that there's this really negative response when you start to talk about these issues. I had quite some people write me and say, Elina, you shouldn't be talking about demonics. You shouldn't be talking about these kinds of, or like entity attachments, because when you speak about these things, you are putting a spell. I do not agree. If you have a broken leg, and I acknowledge that your leg is broken, I'm not placing a spell on you. Your leg is broken. And the faster we acknowledge that your leg is broken, the faster we can actually understand what it is we're dealing with in depth and what we can do about it. So I respect everybody who is of the opposite opinion and they prefer to only stick to, let's say, a positive focus approach to spirituality. But at the same time, I feel like this kind of approach is a little bit gaslighty, is a little bit spiritual bypassing, is a little bit denying realities that are very much true for so many people. And these are the kinds of people that I am putting this content out for. I'm not putting out this content to, convince anybody that there are demons out there and you should be scared. No, actually, fear is what I don't entertain. Sovereignty and energetic authority is what I am about. But we cannot be talking about energetic authority if we are not acknowledging what is threatening energetic sovereignty and authority. And I want to tell you this. I've noticed when you start to climb in your spiritual path beyond the level of the seeker, beyond the level of the initiate, and you start entering the spaces where mastery is coming forth. Let's say you step forth as an energy healer and you start to see 10, 20 people per week and you clear things. That's when these kinds of levels of interference and issues, that's when you start to deal with them. And this has been part of my path, and I cannot deny it just because it makes some people uncomfortable. This is where I bite back because, I'm not a saint. I'm an energy worker. I'm not a saint. So I do get insulted when people are treating these findings of demonic interference, entity attachments, implantation of the light body with all sorts of crap. People are treating this as a urban myth, as something that we are discussing just because it's entertaining. And I want to say, by the time you are starting to encounter such things, I feel you're way out of this level where you're looking for spiritual entertainment. And so I understand a lot of people, they just want to stay in kindergarten occultism levels when it comes to how they approach this spiritual path. And that's okay, they can stay there. But you will not come to my channel and to my website and tell me that I should not be speaking about these issues because it makes you uncomfortable and because you carry the belief that me talking about this is somehow placing a spell. This I do not accept and I will not tolerate. And while I respect that everybody is a free person, and if it doesn't resonate, you're free to go, then go silently. You do not have to reach out to someone who is doing work from the perspective of being of service. You do not have to reach out and speak to them in a manner where you are trying to make them question or doubt their path. I have to question what is operating you in that moment where you seek to make somebody doubt their reality and their experiences and the experiences of countless of clients. You're not just insulting me. You're insulting countless of clients, countless of people who are dealing with these issues. It's as if you have the broken leg and I will come and tell you it's all in your mind. You just like entertaining yourself with scary stories. Don't scare yourself. You don't have a broken leg. Just get up and walk. Imagine how insulting it is to tell someone that. You don't do that, do you? But you will do that to someone who is an energy worker or who is a seeker. And I've seen this in circles where I saw how they were gaslighting people who had an experience and they were seeking for help and they were telling them, oh, you're just focused negatively. This is a shameful practice. It needs to stop. It is predatory. It is abusive. And as healers, if we want to be called healers and not gaslighters, we have to do better. So I want to talk about demonic influence because it is something that I see it really amping up right now. So many people currently who want to do something good, from business owners to healers, everybody who wants to do something good and be a contributor for the life impulse, they are being struck down mercilessly. There's a ton of negative interference that is making people feel depressed, sick, drained. All sorts of obstacles show up. They feel isolated. There's a ton of financial harassment, financial warfare, spiritual warfare that shows up in the form of financial harassment or plans that just don't work, even though your guidance has told you to go down that path, and even though it is clear that this is something that will contribute to not just one person, but to whole demographics. These efforts, they are being attempted to be squashed, they are being attacked, and a lot of obstacles and interference is being thrown in there to ensure that the individual gets discouraged, gets stressed, gets zapped out of their energy, and ultimately gives up. And I'm so happy to see so many people who just won't give up. Just a couple of days ago, I was working to assist, to support a wonderful woman who was dealing with that. And she just didn't give up. Years of relentless psychic attack from not people. I know that we've been talking about psychic attack from the lens of people, jealous people, this and that. These events, to the extent and the degree that I'm noticing them, this is new, I feel. The amount, like the surge, the level, the scale, and it's not just one person here, one person there. It's whole demographics, whole groups of people and countries that are affected by this kind of warfare. And this is because a lot of things have changed in our world, I believe. That's my personal perspective from what I observe. I believe this has to do, first of all, with certain bioweapons that were introduced in the masses already a few years back that severely damaged the gene expression of angelic humanity. It's not the first time we have been genetically tampered with to shut down our connection, to shut down the original blueprint of humanity. But this is one more attempt now in the last 6 years that we have observed. And I also feel like the newly introduced technologies are working in tandem with these kinds of bioweapons, to the point that very significant parts of our blueprint and DNA that were really keeping the humanity alive within us has been switched off. So you actually observe a lot of people that are not inhabiting their vessel anymore. Not 100%. This is a big problem we have. That people are not themselves. People have been taken over by entities, entity attachments that are not your typical entity attachments that we used to clear as energy healers, let's say, the last 20 years. And I've spoken about this with healers who actually have way, way more experience than me. I've been doing this work the last 10 years, and I can tell you that these last 10 years, the shifts are incredible, and I've had to catch up so many times, like always something new. And there are people who are doing this work 30 years, and they will tell you the same thing. The last 10 years is where we have seen this incredible infiltration from all sides and this incredible attack from all sides. There's this attempt to infiltrate from all sides, and unfortunately we're at a place where, due to the social engineering, bioengineering, you even see what's happening in our skies. You cannot tell me that all of these formations on our skies are normal. The things that we are being sprayed with, the things that are being put into our food, the things that are bombarded onto us, even as silent weapons, electronic harassment. Search it. This is not me saying this. What's wrong with Elina? She's lost it. No, these are patented things. And these things, ultimately, they wear down the auric field to the point where illness is there, and to the point where you're wide open for infiltration. And these are the last 6 years for me personally as an energy worker. I've seen that I've had to level up as a healer to be able to help my clients, specifically on the front of catching demonic influences and clearing them. Before, I wasn't encountering that so much. And it's strange because some years ago, my spirit team, they started talking to me about exorcism. I think in my mind, in my, subconscious, that was the only concept, the closest thing that they could find to kind of alert me to the reality that, hey, you will have to level up as a healer in order to be able to do successfully demonic extractions. And it's interesting because I've learned in my journey that when you have a client who is dealing with a demonic interference situation, you do not just perform an exorcism. You actually transit. You're being called to transit demonics so that they don't stay. And I feel that back when my spirit team was telling me, keep an eye out for that because this is part of your job, I could not accept it. And I had such a difficult time with that because I was so scared. I had a lot of fear in me. It's come slowly, and so many times I cleared demonic entities from clients, and I wasn't aware that that was what I did. Only afterwards my spirit team actually informed me, like, do you know what that was? So the fact that, let's say, 10 years ago when I first started, especially the first 3-4 years, maybe just God protected me from that, because maybe I would have freaked out. But I feel like at the beginning, you weren't really seeing any instances that were dealing with DI, demonic influence, interference. And the last 6 years, it's there all the time. And I see it the last 3 years very closely linked to the use of certain technologies without proper shielding of the auric field, and also participating in certain spiritually abusive practices, the kind of stuff that people are drinking, are smoking. Many of these things are being presented even as spiritually enhancing. I do have a strong, how can I say, like, it's a no-no for me when people are asking me about marijuana. I absolutely don't think marijuana helps you connect at all. You are actually being linked into false light infrastructure. And I think that you can do so much better on your own without smoking marijuana. If you want to relax, listen to alpha brainwaves. If you want to connect with spirit, sit down and meditate and pray and ask that your path be revealed to you, and you open up at the organic time for you. I have seen people have incredible damage to their auric field that even a healer can't really fix after a certain point. And again, the sovereignty, the power, the authority is always with you. You have to be the one to start changing your life and commanding your space and shielding your personal auric field and evicting all of these influences that have been allowed in when, let's say, you are smoking marijuana and you end up having these kinds of holes in your aura, and that has invited or attracted, infiltration of all kinds of things. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot more, and I actually had to clear these things also from myself. Also demonics I had to clear from myself, just for those who think that I am speaking about that lightly. I would never project something like that onto someone else. It's something that I used to have an entity attachment that was demonic. In 2016, I cleared it. The other thing that I'm seeing is implants in the etheric and the light body. And I want to direct you to the work of Lisa Renee of energeticsynthesis.com, because she is the only person that I have seen speaking about implants in such a concise and to the point manner. So please go ahead and find in the Ascension Glossary, I think also, there's a lot of good information about etheric implants. These are things and programs, and really implants are etheric devices that are being inserted into the light body in order to either program the consciousness or cut off access to higher consciousness, or to shut down or to squash entire potentialities for the person. And you would ask yourself, who inserts these implants? And I've seen that it's entities, it is electronic harassment, it is technologies, it is a lot of different sides and areas where implants can be inserted, even abuse and mind control. And if you had a difficult upbringing, if you had challenging beliefs that you've been working to clear, I find that most beliefs are actually an implant. And when we clear the implants, the beliefs are also being purged out. And implants also can act as attaching mechanisms, I have seen, for entity attachments. So it could be that you clear entity attachments. That was something that I was shocked to discover in my practice. You could clear entity attachments, and other entity attachments of the same style keep coming back. Why? Because there is an implant that is holding that frequency, that vibration. And so we cannot just be saying, oh, I had entities and I cleared them. There's implants. Another thing I've seen that has taken incredible proportions the last years 4 years, I would say, is Astral Parasites. And again, I would like to direct you to the work of Lisa Renee in the sense that she describes the particular ones that I have seen as suppressor parasite entities. Now, for me, this is what describes my path. I will see things and then I will look to see if someone else is talking about that. And again, I have only found Lisa Renee's work talking about the majority of the issues I have been encountering. And other than that, New Age spirituality and this kind of approach, while very helpful if, let's say, you are someone who has an issue that can be rectified by you just becoming more mindful of your own focus, that can be fixed with what New Age spirituality offers, like positive focus, mindfulness, all of that stuff. But if actually you have an issue that requires etheric surgery, like if there's something in your light body that, I believe that we can clear anything from ourselves. But what happens if we're just at a place in our journey that we haven't built the spiritual focus, the spiritual awareness, first of all, because you cannot clear something that you cannot see. You cannot clear, I had so many things and I only cleared them when I was able to see them. And I'm sure I have a ton more stuff. We all do. That's why I find it so weird when people are telling me, you make people feel bad about themselves. No, we shouldn't feel bad about ourselves. We all have attachments and consciousness traps and implants and all sorts of things. It comes with the territory here on planet Earth. And the more gifted you are, the bigger the soul mission and contract. Especially if you're star-seeded and you are here to anchor a different kind of consciousness that has never been anchored before here on the planet. You're gonna have a lot of that stuff thrown at you from childhood to sabotage you, to stop you, to block you. So we all have these things because we all have a spark and we have wonderful things to contribute. And you cannot tell me that the system is particularly happy when we manage to step into our divine power where we start to be contributing. They just want us to be consumers. So we all have to deal with these things. It doesn't mean that when you are dealing with these issues, you are spiritually, there's something wrong with you or whatever. No, sometimes it's just it's too early on our path and you need someone else who has, let's say, a greater awareness than the awareness that you have at this particular time on your path. It doesn't put you below anybody. And me as a healer or any healer, it doesn't put us above anybody. What do you think? 3 steps before we were there. So when people just decide to unattach themselves from this ego perspective, what they would do, how they would deal, how they would act if they were healers, if they were in this position of perceived power, because I can tell you, as an energy worker, you realize how you don't have power over anybody else. You can just hope to remember to remind others of their power. Okay, the people who think they have power over another, these are not healers. They work with the antichrist and the anti-life impulse. Okay, so we're just hoping to remember our own power, the power that we have over our own space and the space of those, let's say, our clients who have given us permission to represent them and thus do clearing work on their behalf. Really, implants and the astral parasites is the thing that I have seen the most skyrocketing, along with demonic attachments and even more demonic attacks on people with the intent to eventually wear you down so much where to the point they can attach and control you. And it's so wonderful that people just find their way, let's say, to an etheric surgeon long before they get worn down so much. They just feel, first of all, there's illness, there's challenge, there's all sorts of blockages, there's all sorts of dark energy. And people who are committed to their betterment, they will not let that stand. They will be like, okay, what do I do? You see, it's people that are working already a lot on themselves and they just need a little bit of help in that moment. because they're like, hey, I can't really see what it is that is affecting me. Can you, like, what do you see? And the kinds of astral parasites, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because even like last week, I cleared one from myself, and my partner saw it. He helped pull it out, and I was able to destroy it once it was out of my aura, because it was trying to come back in, and I was like, you are annihilated. And I'm teaching tools from what I've seen that worked for me in my membership. The kinds of astral parasites, the ones also that Lisa Renee speaks about as like suppressor parasite entities, they look like jellyfish. And I have cleared from people a variety of these kinds of things. I've cleared things that looked like a squid. I've cleared things that looked like a crab, or like some kind of crustacean with pincers. The one that we cleared from me last week, it looked like a jellyfish. I'm talking about, when I'm saying they look like, I'm talking about how you perceive these energies, how they show up in your inner eye. So this is how our nervous system is able to translate the energy, the signature that they pick up from, you can see it with your mind's eye. And I find it so interesting that we were doing a session last week, and both of us, two people, we could see the exact same thing. We didn't speak to each other. We could see the exact same thing in real time. And so when you have such events happening, you can corroborate things and, be a little bit more confident that it's indeed like it is this way and you're not imagining it. And I think that when we clear such things, there is a little bit of a purge also that happens, but it's not an illness. It's not an actual illness. You will notice a detox. You will notice a purge, a purification. I think it's very important at this time to be taking care of our gut. I personally didn't have such a terrible time with purges after things that I cleared from my light body, because I had behind me at the time an intensive cleanse process that I did for my gut. I was doing colon cleanses over 3 months. I was doing rehabilitation and ozone therapy and clearing also my liver. I was doing the Moritz protocol. So find a good naturopathic healer who can walk you through these processes. They don't just help our physical body, but in cases where you want to clear such things from your light body, I think it helps a lot, because then your physical body, it doesn't have to purge so much energetic, etheric, or physical toxins. And sometimes, especially, so I'm not with physical parasites and stuff like that, I'm not very well versed. I never had parasites like that. But I've seen from other people that when they clear physical parasites, you end up seeing shift also in the entire light body. There were possessions even that fell away. And when I'm talking about possessions, you guys, I don't want you to think of a person climbing up the walls. I want you to understand that through the fragmentation process, when we were being traumatized in our upbringing, in our childhood, in, even in adulthood, we are breaking, splicing, splitting in parts. These parts of ours, they go underground, they go offline, they become shadow material. This is what we do, shadow work, to uncover them and love them back into integration, right? But when they are on their own and scared and unclaimed and unrehabilitated, these fragments, they act as containers. They are a separate consciousness. And I have seen that they can make deals with entities, with demonics, with, they can be the ones that were susceptible to astral parasites. But because they are in us, they are in our light body, our light body gets affected. So often in consciousness traps, it's the same thing. You could be clearing something that you consciously, you would have never acquiesced to. But a part of you that was traumatized, and based on the consciousness level that it is stuck at, it made sense. I had an attachment with an entity that was bringing me visibility in exchange for suffering. At the time, I had a lot of suffering going on in my life. So it made sense. I was like, yeah, I have a lot of that. Here you go. You can have some of it and give me visibility and success in return. That was unconscious. Me, the Elina, the conscious part that drives this vehicle, I wasn't even aware of that. And that entity attachment, which was, by the way, a demonic entity, that's what I'm saying, they can be very sneaky. You could have one and it's like it could be giving you good stuff, but always at a price. So it brought me visibility and many things went really fast. And when my life changed and this suffering was not there anymore, this entity attachment, in order to continue giving me visibility, it manifested suffering. So it had to have suffering for it to give me in exchange visibility and success. And so when I cleared it in 2016 as part of my first training, and I wasn't aware that that was what I was clearing, but I noticed that, I was focused on clearing the suffering. What do you know? You clear the suffering. Where does the suffering come from? It comes from this entity, from this demonic attachment. And you clear it. You clear the suffering, yes, but you also cleared now the gifts that it was bringing. So suddenly my visibility plummeted. And so it took years also for me to be in a position where my spirit team could make this insight available to me without having me feel fearful or confused or heartbroken, quite frankly. Right? It's like, oh my gosh, a demonic attachment, what? So many people, we have stuff because we have lots of sub-personalities, shadow selves. It hasn't been easy here on planet Earth. Every step you take, they tell you, no, that's not good. Change, be someone else. So you kill off or camouflage parts of you. You break them, you split them off, and you put them somewhere else. And you bring forth other parts that sometimes are not even organic, they are created. And how do you create them, or how do you find them in you to bring them forth? Many times you will make an agreement. You will say, there's an entity that can help me, bring this forth. Let's make a deal. So I hope this video helped give some insight and clarity, and these themes, these discussions is why I also decided to bring back my distance energy healing sessions as well. You can find them on my website, distance healing sessions, but this time it's really particular. You will see also in the website, the vocabulary is much clearer from what I had in other years, because I think in the past, I would clear things from people and I wouldn't even tell them. But I think it's time that we start speaking in truth and to really throw out of the window this fear, okay? So it's time that we speak truthfully, because awareness is what ultimately places the sovereignty back into your hands. So, okay, my loves, I hope to see you next time here on Elina's Alchemy. And until then, what can I wish you? I'm going to wish you the fortitude and the power, the beauty and the divine grace to fill the lungs and the heart space, to reignite that spark inside of you, to remember who you are, remember your divinity and your sovereignty. And until next time, take care.